Hey guys, it's Inways. Hey, how are y'all doing? It's been a minute since I actually properly live streamed. Hello again, welcome to Zenways. This is gonna be a chill, relaxed stream, just relaxing, watching some of my interesting YouTube. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. I'm gonna chill with chat and we'll have a fun time talking to each other. So let's get right into this. So this seems to be a video I found over on my For You page. Yeah, it's just really something I've watched before. But trying the most expensive card I could find, so like a wheat cart. So yeah, I hope you guys talk around in chat, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Guys, I'm just gonna fix that. I just realized it's not working, the audio. So let's retry that again.
After making that video, and I
Awesome.
took
Now
like
you guys should get it.
7 hits
Alright.
max on
Well,
that. It was a bad
that's what happens when
experience.
you have
I
a
found out
stream,
why it was the
but
cheapest. It was
yeah, that's
not
good.
good. But
Actually, seems
today,
pretty
man,
interesting,
we got
so
something
enjoy
special.
this
So
video
if you
and
guys have never had a
have
cartridge
some
like
fun
this,
with it.
first
It
of
looks
all,
like a good
it's a
cartridge, though. It wasn't
ceramic
bad.
cart.
It really
Already
was.
off to a great start. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
your classic metal cartridge. Major
Ceramic
W. That's
carts
a
are so much
check
better.
on the
They
this is
just
gonna be
they
good
hit so
list.
much better.
Then it's also a solventless live hash rosin cartridge. If you
Whoa,
saw
it's
the last
live
video,
rosin.
you heard me talk about it.
That's awesome.
Solventless is the way to go. It's the bread and butter. If you can get it, if you can afford it, if you want to try something good, this is it. This is solventless. No chemicals were used to make this. It's like the purest form you can get. It's my favorite in my opinion. It tastes the best in my opinion. We're gonna see though if this cart holds
That
up.
tastes good.
But yeah,
That
so
tastes good.
this cart right here costed me over $60 for this half-gram
Damn, I paid
cartridge.
$40.
Now some of y'all might be saying, that's not that expensive. I thought it would be more. Some of you might be saying I am a idiot for buying a half-gram cartridge for $60. You can buy like 17 distillate vapes for $60. But it's what's inside that makes it worth it. But this right here, apparently the guy was hyping it up too. I went into the dispo, I said, what's the most expensive cartridge you got? And he said, that's a great question. And then we looked over it, and this is what we came out with. But it makes sense. If you know, you know. Live rosin is definitely the most expensive type of cartridges you're going to buy on a rec market or really anywhere. Typically, it's like the hardest to make, the best quality, usually uses the best quality things. It makes sense why it's the most expensive. We're going to see if this is crazy, alright? So I'm going to dive into this, and it is strawberry guava. If you know me, if you've seen my other videos,
Strawberry guava.
right up my alley. I love the fruits, I love the guavas, I love the strawberries, right up my alley. And it's apparently got a over 13% terpenes. If you know me, I love the terps. Tasty terps, that's what makes it enjoyable. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect this onto a battery. Alright, let's try this cart. Enough talking, let's try this cart. My recommendation too, if you're smoking something that you paid some good money for, that's a live rosin or live resin cartridges mainly, you want to smoke on things where you can change the temperature. Whether there's 3 settings or something, you do not really want to go on the highest, hottest setting. You're gonna burn the terps. It's not gonna taste as good. Trust me. Medium, low temp, the best type. So I got this on medium, and let's try it out. Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Take that here, I'll take one with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Let's show that cartridge one more time.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
That ceramic cartridge, it just doesn't get better than that. Okay, okay. I think we should take a double hitter here.
Double hitter, double hitter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this shit's
So much better. I'm saying like noticeably better than just a regular distillate vape. It is insane. If you have never tried a live rosin cart compared to your classic distillate cart, which most people are probably smoking, mind blowing. I'm saying this stuff is mind blowing. It's a game changer. But yeah, initial reaction. It tastes really good. Doesn't burn at all. My throat. Sometimes you even get it in the nose area with like distillate vapes. It just feels like it burns. It feels like just not good. This is smacking. No burn. No real like cough. No like nasty aftertaste. It tastes pretty good. I will say I don't think that it's 13% It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't taste that crazy. It has a little hint, but it's like definitely more weed tasting. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'll be honest with you guys. It is not bad at all. These are my favorite type of carts. Ceramic live rosin cartridges. When they're done correctly, very good. This was the most expensive cart that I could find. It better be good, right? Like, they're taxing on this. But yeah, this is something that like you buy and maybe you don't buy it as often because honestly, a lot of people can't afford.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Where's Moses? Yeah, sure, we'll refresh that for you, Paige. Take a look at what we're looking at. I got lots of stuff, but yo, this is pretty crazy. Let's watch this video.
Hey, what's going on guys? I'm back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be comparing a starter $50 to $65 mod and an advanced $1,200 vape mod. This video is sponsored by Geek Vape, and the $50 to $65 beginner mod that I'm going to be using is the Aegis Mini by Geek Vape. And the $1,200 mod is the Brass Gyre by Avid Life. There's a bunch of different pieces on this mod, and actually on this mod too. I'm going to be covering both these in depth, so stay tuned. The reason I wanted to make this...
Those things hit pretty good, actually. Huh. Yeah, honestly, this is not bad, not bad. Oh my god, wait, yo, I know what we gotta watch. Yo, let's watch some of this. CBD, bro.
Nature, I was quite intrigued. So, out of curiosity, I decided to Google strongest weed you can get in Las Vegas, just in case there was something more potent than moon rock, which up until this point, I thought was the pinnacle of bud. So after stumbling upon an article comparing the rocks from the moon and sun, I realized that in my ignorance, I had crowned a false king, and the only deserving punishment for a big smarty pants weed stickman YouTuber like myself was to feel the full wrath of the true strongest weed in the universe. I hopped on the local Las Vegas dispensary site in hopes of having it delivered to me like the Benjamin, but either due to current weather conditions or just the delivery man greening the fuck out, it said, "We are currently not providing deliveries," which is a problem you won't run into when you go and claim your limited time free jar of 5 CBD high potency 10mg Delta 9 gummies. And if you've ever had any Delta 9 gummies before, you know these things can kick hard, and that's exactly why 5CBD is offering 3 different types of them, each crafted to give you the high best suited for your current situation. There's Surge, which is similar to a sativa effect, keeping you vibing whilst also getting your shit done. Then there's Vibe, which is similar to a hybrid effect, providing you a nice relaxing feeling whilst also remaining productive throughout the day. And finally, Chill, my favorite, which is similar to Indica, perfect for kicking back, vibing, watching a show, or hopping on a game with your homies, and at the end, sleeping like a mob. Baby. 5CBD is also one of the most trusted brands out there, and take pride in having all their gummies third-party lab tested. Combine that with their high potency and amazing variety, there's no wonder they've already sold over 20 million jars. And if you're still on the fence, 5CBD has also given me the opportunity to have you guys try them out for free. Just click the link in the pinned comment or description, pay for shipping, and have a $50 jar delivered right to your doorstep with no subscriptions attached. But for the time being, I had no other choice than to leave my apartment and go to the closest dispensary in hopes of them having this exotic nug in stock. Only problem was that it was night, and well, your boy wasn't exactly staying at Caesar's Palace, so as I was preparing to go outside in the dark, where, mind you, I saw a guy walking around wearing a safety vest, rocking a handlebar mustache, and carrying a double-barrel shotgun the night before, I just had to take a quick rip from the bong to make it a high story, you know?
Okay, 2 miles that way. Wish I had a car. Guess I'll just run.
Shit, this is like
A few minutes later.
Hello, sir. Oh, yeah, hello. You guys have something called Sunrock? It's like, nope. Just sold the last stock. Those guys bought it. We got Moonrock, though. No, I've already done that. You know where I can get some Sunrocks, though? Yeah, the store a mile from here should have some left. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
A
that's
few
awesome.
minutes later.
God.
Sorry, I gotta see your passport first, bruh.
No, but this is like my government-issued ID. Can you...
Look, I'm sorry. We have a lot of people visiting from banana republics these days, and we can't start selling to everybody with a rinky-dinky, this is a real country, Google it, ID card. Come back with a passport and I'll hook you up.
I'm not from Banana Republic. We made Skype. We made Skype.
Hello there.
Yes, I had to now walk back 3 miles, get my passport, walk another 3 to get the Sunrock, and then walk another 3 back home. And mind you, I had already ran 3 miles too. So you know, of course, cause your boy fast as bolt, quick as an electrical jolt, I got an Uber back home. But now I was fresh again, so of course I put on my Space Jams and I got an Uber. But then when I was there and showed my passport, received my $80 weed, I was not trying to get robbed on the walkway filled with homeless camps in Las Vegas fiends, so I got an Uber. Finally, after wasting a week's transportation budget in 40 minutes, I was back in my apartment, Sunrock in hand and rolling papers in my pockets. And yes, unlike last time with the Moonrock, I wasn't about to smack that shit from my bong and get assimilated. Cause from the blinker I had done a couple days back, I learned my lesson about concentrate. Do not underestimate it. So I rolled me up a Slimmy Slimmer, basically a very small J. And something you might not know is that with these caviar nugs like Sunrock, you're not really supposed to grind them with a regular grinder, so I just used my fingers to break the nug apart, and because of that, well, let's just say the airflow on this J was god awful. Later on I would find out you're not supposed to smoke Sunrock from a J at all, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I went to my patio and attempted to light this abomination, and I mean, it really was. Imagine taking some A4 Wagyu steak and serving it in a dirty bucket,
Nah,
but
that
alas,
sounds good, though,
I
honestly.
still...
Oh yeah.
The first puff, yes, the goddamn first puff got me drafted in a galactic war against the Matrix. And I think that had to do with the fact that Jay only had like 3 puffs in it, because I was basically just smoking straight nugs. But I decided for the legacy of CBD, bro, I shall do another puff.
Yeah, CBD bro.
The French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the moon landing, the splitting of the atom, the theory of relativity, it all flashed before my eyes because I now saw the world from an interstellar position. And I would love to say I now went on some grand adventure and discovered the Holy Grail with some Las Vegas crackheads, but this was different. The high was spent glued to my couch, wondering the meaning of the universe and how I had traveled 6,000 miles across the ocean and was now sitting on a couch in some random Airbnb completely and utterly blasted beyond human understanding. After about 15 minutes of doing literally nothing but staring at my wall, I decided to watch some YouTube and found this guy called Oversimplified who makes these historical animation videos and spent a good portion of my high learning about the history of our world. Too bad I don't remember a goddamn thing, but at the time I felt like I was really becoming a damn scholar. I guess the lessons and memories of that high are waiting for me once I return to the land of the sun.
Where am I?
Man, I told you not to smoke that Sunrock. You stuck on the sun now, fool, with the rest of us.
No! Oh, no, wait, that was just a dream. Damn, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, bro. You were in a hell of a kush coma.
Yeah, I guess I was. Wait!
Bro, I got stuck in a kush coma, my dudes. Shit was crazy, and I don't actually remember the exact dreams I saw, but they were pretty trippy, and it was one of those inception things that had me waking up from a dream into another dream, son. Safe to say, I had gotten assimilated. But it was kind of nice, because it was a real clear high without anxiety, which usually when you get that obliterated, it always comes accompanied with just a little bit of anxiety at least. So, are Sunrocks stronger than Moonrocks? Yes, but the main thing I took from this high was that they also...
Damn, well, that's not bad, that's not bad. Damn, okay. Chad, what do you think we should watch next? Yo, we'll put this on. We'll put on this.
Nearly every video
The Real Boy?
a Virtual Boy
I wonder what this is. Okay, Virtual
Inside this handheld is an actual Virtual Boy motherboard from a damaged Virtual Boy, along with lots of custom hardware, electronics, and code. This project is one of the most difficult and ambitious projects I've ever taken on. Being the first of its kind, I had countless unexpected issues and setbacks that pushed me to the edge of just giving up on this project.
Oh, it was 30 volts. No. My screen's probably cooked. So, I've never seen anything like this. Look, AC interference is what triggers it.
But that leaves a lot of questions. How is this all possible? And why, of all consoles, did I choose to build a portable out of Nintendo's biggest commercial failure to date?
Yeah, but actually that's a really good question.
For those new to my channel, my most common builds are turning Wiis into portable gaming systems. I've built a few portable Wiis throughout the years, but before I entered the portabilizing community, Wii motherboard trimming and Wii handhelds weren't really a thing. When I first set out to document the Wii circuit board and make my first portable Wii, I knew next to nothing about electronics. Everything was new, uncomfortable, and confusing. But the challenges I faced making my first portable forced me to learn in order to overcome them, and I was picking it up and learning faster than I could ever imagine. But after completing a few Wii portables, I've gotten pretty comfortable with the process. A little bit too comfortable.
This guy actually seems pretty cool.
I discovered that when it comes to learning, when you start getting comfortable, you stop getting better. So, after finishing the GameCube Joy-Cons, I knew it was time for me to experiment with a project that would put me outside of my comfort zone. And nothing says uncomfortable quite like the Virtual Boy. Not everyone knows about the Virtual Boy, and honestly, who can blame them? Before starting this project, I had never owned or even used a Virtual Boy. Released in 1995, it was Nintendo's first attempt at 3D virtual reality gaming. The history of this console is fascinating. After Nintendo obtained exclusive licensing rights to RTI's LED eyepiece tech in the early 90s, they set out to create an ambitious 3D virtual reality project. Led by the legend Gunpei Yokoi himself, the project, codenamed VR32, was going to change the way the world saw video games. But then Nintendo's corporate leaders got bored of the project. They slashed VR32's R&D budget and reassigned most of the dev team. Upper management wanted something to release during the gap between the Super Nintendo and their upcoming Ultra 64, and pushed for an early release date. To meet the new release window and budget restrictions, the scope of the project was scaled back tremendously, and the Virtual Boy was rushed out the door in 1995. It was a commercial flop, only selling around 700,000 units. It was promptly discontinued less than a year later. The Virtual Boy is neat, unique, and ambitious, but the technology just wasn't there in 1995. It feels like a rushed prototype rather than a complete market-ready product. But more importantly, it has a small library of decent, exclusive games that never saw the light of day on another system. Today, it has hidden gems, a cult following, and a surprisingly active homebrew modding scene. So how exactly does this red and black abomination even work? Let's crack it open and have a look. Here in the middle we have the motherboard. This board has the processors and circuitry that run the Virtual Boy games. As a result, it is the most important part for this build, as it is the only part I cannot replace with custom circuitry. If I did, it wouldn't be a Virtual Boy anymore. On each side, we have one of two eyepieces with a vertical row of tiny red LEDs. Light is bounced off these mirrors towards the user. Servo motors attached to the mirrors make them go 50 times a second, turning the row of LEDs into what our eyes see as a square raster. By turning on and off the LEDs at the precise moment synchronized with the mirrors, these LED rows effectively become tiny red and black screens. Down here we have the servo board, which, as the name implies, controls the servo motors views on the mirrors. The motherboard communicates with the servo board, and the console will actually refuse to boot if the servo board or the motors are not present. On the left we have a board with the audio amp for the built-in speakers, and a board for the controller and link cable plugs. But Shank, I hear you furiously typing. Isn't the Virtual Boy already portable? It was marketed as a portable device, with batteries to power it stored in a controller. But calling it portable is a bit of a stretch. It's pretty clunky and requires a table and chair to even use it. It constantly nags you to take breaks, and its literature has warnings all over it. And while it probably won't give me eye cancer, it isn't particularly comfortable to look at. A play session feels about the same as falling asleep with my contacts in. Now that we understand how it works, how can we improve it and make it portable? The obvious solution would be to... But honestly, I'd like to go for something a little more traditional and pocketable. Nobody has ever built a Virtual Boy handheld before, so I had a lot of figuring out to do. But before we go into the changes I made, first let's talk about the specific parts that make up game consoles. Nearly every video game console in existence is made up of the same 6 essential building blocks. The first and most important portion of the console is the main circuit board, also known as the motherboard or the MOBO. This is the heart and brain of the video game console, and makes the console what it is. It consists of all the processing chips needed for the console to operate, and it connects to the 5 other building blocks. First, on the input side, we have power. This block consists of the power source, such as outlets or batteries, along with the circuitry needed to convert it into something the console can use. Next, we have the game. This includes not just the data of the game itself, but the medium that is used to load it. This can be a hard drive, game cartridge, flash drive, disk drive, or anything really, depending on the game system. The last input is the controller. This is pretty straightforward and includes all the buttons, sticks, and electronics needed for you to play and interact with the game. On the other side, we have the output blocks. The video block consists of the TV or screen, along with the entire video signal chain. The last block is audio, which consists of the speakers and the amplifiers needed to drive them. Every video game system, home or handheld, is made up of these same 6 blocks. As mentioned before, the motherboard is the game system itself. It cannot be replaced by custom parts, or would not be the same game console. However, the other 5 blocks can, and replacing these 5 segments is the key to transforming any video game console into a smaller, more portable system. So now that we understand these segments, let's have a look at the blocks that make up the Virtual Boy and see what we can do to change and improve them. First, we have the motherboard. There's no getting around this one. If you want a Virtual Boy portable, you need to use a Virtual Boy motherboard, and the only place to get a Virtual Boy motherboard is from inside an actual Virtual Boy. Rather than harvest a perfectly working one, I was given a board that was severely damaged from another modder's attempt to repair it. One eyepiece data is totally fried, so one eye will never work again. Fortunately, I only need the data from one of the 2 eyes, so this board is perfect to resurrect into a functional portable. The next obstacle to tackle is the games. The Virtual Boy uses cartridges to load and play games. On most portables, the goal is to replace the disk drive or cartridge slot with something more compact that can store an entire library of games. Unfortunately, there just isn't a way to do that on the Virtual Boy. At least not yet. This means I'm stuck with using real, original cartridges. Luckily, the Virtual Boy's cartridge slot isn't too big, so I can work with that. The stock cartridge slot sits really far away from the motherboard, so it'll need to be modified and rewired. This is done by cutting down the slot with a Dremel and manually soldering wires to each of the 60 pins. This took several hours, but allowed me to reduce the thickness by a few millimeters. The Virtual Boy has a lot of homebrew games, including an excellent port of Street Fighter II called Hyper Fight. To play these games, I'm going to use this reprogrammable cartridge called the HyperFlash 32. Notice anything funny about this label? It's not paper, it's actually an e-paper display. To program a different game onto the cartridge from the microSD slot, just plug in USB power, use the capacitive touch buttons on the back to select a game, and the cartridge will reprogram itself into that game, displaying community-made artwork when it's done. This slick, reprogrammable cartridge was designed and made by Melot, a well-respected contributor in the Virtual Boy modding scene. Huge shoutouts to him for sending me one so I can feature more games later in the video. Video on the Virtual Boy is a little more complicated. As we discussed earlier, the Virtual Boy doesn't have a screen, and also doesn't put out any standard video signal. Fortunately for me, a brilliant modder by the name of Furtek created an open source mod called the Virtual Tap. This board allows the Virtual Boy to output a VGA signal, which I can send to any standard VGA screen. The picture quality is great, and even supports changing color palettes with a push of a button. While the Virtual Boy itself supports stereoscopic 3D, the Virtual Tap doesn't. Implementing something custom with FPGAs on, say, a 3DS screen is possible, but far beyond my capabilities. The VirtualTap kit also includes a servo emulator board. This tiny chip is programmed to trick the console into thinking the servo board is present and functional, telling it exactly what it wants to hear. For the controller, I didn't want to harvest the components from an actual Virtual Boy controller, and instead wanted to make my own. The Virtual Boy's controller is just a 16-bit shift register. Shift registers are simple, common chips that can still be purchased today. This means all I needed to do was buy a pair of 8-bit shift registers, wire them up, and call it a day. But there's one big problem. Sometimes I'm a little too ambitious for my own good. Over the years, my hardware and electronics capabilities have greatly improved as I have taken on more and more ambitious projects. But there's something you should know. I have a weakness. Something that has always held me back. Something, no matter how hard I try, I've never been able to overcome. It's time I tell you what has always been my greatest limiting factor as a modder. Coding. As long as I can remember, I have always struggled with software and coding, and this was an opportunity to force myself out of my comfort zone to learn something new. So my plan at this point was to take the functions of a shift register, add my own functions, and put them onto a tiny, reprogrammable chip known as a microcontroller. I wired up a breadboard, studied a several hundred-page datasheet, learned about SPI protocol, and just kidding, turns out interrupts on the chip aren't fast enough for my goal to even be possible. And it only took me a week of all-night troubleshooting sessions to figure it out. After my first hello world turned into a goodbye world, it was time for a new plan. Instead of putting everything on one chip, I was going to use normal shift registers and put my own custom chip between the buttons and the shift registers. This would let me monitor the buttons that are pressed and perform different actions if certain button combinations are pressed simultaneously. The downside to this approach is that I need 16 inputs and at least 16 outputs. I tried wiring this all up by hand, but it was messy and extremely unreliable. Instead, I designed a custom circuit board to develop my code on. Rather than running every wire by hand, circuit boards have tiny copper lines on them called traces. These traces act like flat wires to connect everything on the board where they need to go without turning your project into spaghetti. Custom circuit boards allow for slimmer, more organized, and more reliable circuits. In recent years, making custom circuit boards for one-off projects like this has become more and more accessible. There's free software to design the board, free tutorials to teach you how, and the circuit boards have become more affordable than ever. For example, with PCBWay, the sponsor for this video, you can get 10 PCBs of your own design for just $5. If you're interested in having your own professional circuit boards made, I recommend giving them a shot. They supplied the boards I used in this project, and even supplied a batch of these fun, decorative keychain PCBs to give away at the end of the video. Once my development board arrived, I quickly assembled it and got to work. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, I lacked the coding experience needed to actually complete this project. Sometimes, though, all you need is a good teacher. Allow me to introduce the first hero of this project, Crash Bash. He's a software engineer and close friend of mine who took me under his wing to help me complete the project. Him and I spent countless all-nighters over several weekends working through the software to get it right, streaming the entire process to my Discord server. He walked me through the entire process as we worked on more and more complex aspects of the code. At one point, the software for compiling just straight up stopped working on my computer, and Crash had to remotely write code and have me test it. Finally, after countless night owl sessions, we got all the code for the controller working properly, including all my bonus features. By pressing certain button combinations, I can change the color palette, adjust screen controls, and turn on and off LEDs. The controller is sorted out, so now we're playing with power. The Virtual Boy is normally powered by 6 AA batteries. Gross. For my project, I want to use the same high-capacity lithium cells found in modern electronics, so I will be using the N64 power management system. This open-source board was designed by G-Man for use in Nintendo 64 portables, but it's perfectly fit for this project. It has the lithium protection, battery management, and dual voltage power supplies I need to power this project. Since the power management system is open source, I was also able to tweak the code to tell the Virtual Boy to activate the in-game low battery indicator when the lithium batteries are low, with a little help from Crash Bash, of course. Finally comes the last block, audio. While the audio amp that comes with the Virtual Boy would do the job, the board is pretty large and a lot of space could be saved by replacing it with a smaller amp. A suitable replacement would need to accept analog audio, work with speakers, and support headphone jack audio with automatic switching when plugged in. Once again, G-Man's open source PCBs come to the rescue with the UAMP,
Oh yeah, G-Man.
which checks
Shout out
every
G-Man.
box on the list. The one caveat is that it uses digital volume controls. In other words, volume up and down buttons. For my build, I wanted to use an analog volume wheel for adjustment instead, which required some tweaking to the code. Crash and I gave it a go, but we encountered some of the strangest issues while doing so.
Camera, 'cause this is wacky.
We later learned that another modder, Stoned Edge, had already made such modifications to the UAMP code for another project, so he sent me his functional code to end our suffering. For any portable or project like this, the case is the last thing you want to design. It's important to design the case around your internals, rather than vice versa, for the cleanest, most efficient end result. I threw a sketch of the motherboard and a few screens into Illustrator, and drew mock-ups until I settled on this design. It's only slightly bigger than the motherboard, and is built around a 4.3-inch IPS widescreen display. After I figured out the shape, I added some visual flair to make it more reminiscent of the Virtual Boy. The front is stylized like the visor of the Virtual Boy, with the same red and black seams. I added a gray border to match the eye shroud, and colored the buttons to match the dark red translucent lenses for the eyepieces. For the back, I took inspiration from the other side of the Virtual Boy, matching the geometry and logo stylization. I feel the behavior of a controller's buttons isn't something you think about much until you hold a third-party controller and realize something has gone horribly wrong. For the shoulder buttons, I designed a modular system using 3 screw posts and an extremely satisfying semi-tactile switch. I spent a solid week tuning the design until it felt just right, somewhere between the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64 shoulder button. For the face buttons, I wanted to capture the oh-so-satisfying feel of the Game Boy Advance. I modeled the same button wells and used the same membranes to preserve the authentic feel.
This guy's awesome.
But official Game Boy Advance buttons don't come in the color I wanted, and third-party buttons just don't feel the same. Fortunately, an old friend of mine, Baseline, runs a business making custom controllers and controller parts. He was kind enough to resin cast some Forbidden Jolly Ranchers, buttons, in the color of my choice, and all I had to do was ask nicely.
Yes?
Where are my buttons?
I'm literally making them right now! Actually, I am.
Oh my
I'm
god.
making them right now! Ah!
Baseline is the coolest ape with a knife out there, and he makes fantastic controllers. If you're looking to get one made, I highly recommend checking him out. Next, I got to work 3D modeling the case in Autodesk Inventor. I found a 2DS-like wedge profile was not only comfortable, but the most efficient use of internal space for all the ports I wanted to have. For any well-designed portable, it's essential that the shell and its internals are built around each other. Custom printed circuit boards were the secret sauce to making a portable this clean and compact. This project uses a total of 11 circuit boards, 9 of which were custom, 6 of which I designed myself. This case and the boards were designed together to fit hand in hand, with matching screw posts and snap fits. The motherboard screws into the cart slot cover, with room on the sides for batteries, the thickest part of the portable. These 2 plates are screwed down on top of the motherboard, holding it in place while providing mounting points for most of the other circuit boards. Most parts are either screw-mounted or snap-fit, including the screen, which is held in from behind by carefully planned tolerances. The 2 halves of the case have snap fits along the edges, allowing it to snap closed without the use of screws. While designing the case, I also was designing these 6 custom PCBs specifically to fit in my case. Once I finished them, I uploaded them to PCBWay, customized them all to be read, and got them in the mail about a week later. This first PCB houses all the components needed for the controller I programmed on my dev board, along with the Pinocchio silkscreen, because he's a real boy. On the other side, I have contact pads for the D-pad and 4 face buttons, which I had gold-plated for improved responsiveness and reliability. It connects using a flex cable to another board that houses the other 6 face button contacts. The next PCB was used to mount the headphone jack, USB-C charging jack, and HDMI video out port. I also put my patrons' names on the back because y'all are super awesome and I appreciate every one of you. HDMI video output is achieved through a board I harvested from a VGA to HDMI converter cable. Rather than soldering 19 HDMI wires by hand, I designed an adapter PCB to easily run it straight to my I/O PCB. The last 2 boards serve no electrical purpose and only exist as mounting points for the volume wheel, controller port, and link cable. While it seems a little overkill, custom PCBs are really inexpensive and these mounting boards were simple enough to design in a single night. As I've mentioned in my other videos, painting is not my specialty, and I wanted to avoid doing so for this project. Instead, my friend Mitch volunteered to print my project using multi-material 3D printing. Multi-material 3D printing lets you 3D print a single piece with multiple colors by splicing, welding, and feeding in different colors into the same extruder. The biggest downside to this is the 3D printer needs to print a large purge block to clear the extruder whenever it changes colors. This can be very wasteful. The other downside is the added complexity means getting a perfect print takes a lot more tuning. We went through 5 spools and lots of failed attempts before we had a final case I was satisfied with. Mitch was super patient with how picky I was, and he did a fantastic job helping me bring my vision to life. He has a YouTube channel and Twitter account where he showcases content and projects of his own. So if projects like these interest you, I highly recommend checking him out. When a case comes off the printer, it still needs a lot of post-processing to pretty it up. First up was sanding. I tried wet sanding by hand, a process I've utilized in previous projects, but found I got much better results wet sanding with a palm sander. I started with 220 grit and slowly worked my way up to 12,000. For our first attempt at the logo on the back, Mitch and I attempted to include it in the multi-material printing process. But the letters left tiny gaps that were too small to be filled by the printer, and trying to melt plastic into the holes only made things worse. Instead, Mitch cut some vinyl decals to use as painting stencils. Next, I picked up some primer, clear coat, tape, and other essential supplies I needed to finish up this case. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, it was painting time. I peeled and applied the stencil and wrapped it in tape to protect the rest of the case. I applied a few coats of primer, then peeled away the tape and stencil, leaving nice, clean letters. Then I just applied a few coats of clear coat to the case to protect the letters, and waited a few days for it to dry. Finally, it was time to assemble everything. This was the culmination of everything I had worked on over the past few months. So much effort into careful planning and design meant the process was straightforward and planned out. Once the majority of the space-consuming parts were installed, it was time to finally close the case, and it didn't close. Throughout the entire design process, I had tested these snap fits on cases I printed on my 3D printer. But Mitch's 3D printer, the printer that had printed the final case, had different parameters that I had not accounted for. When printed on his printer, the snap fits closed, but they didn't have as much clamp force as mine, meaning it couldn't hold the case together when it was full. The design had to be tweaked, and the case had to be remade, and the internals would need to be transplanted. This was crushing to my morale, but I was going to finish this project if it killed me. I wasted no time tweaking the case to fix it. Mitch, the hero he is, got right to work on printing the new cases for me with my modified design. Once I had a solid printed case, I sanded it to 12,000 grit, applied a stencil, applied primer, clear coat, and let it dry again. Now with case number 2 in hand, it was time to remove the internals from the old case and reassemble them in the new one, hopefully for the last time. And now for the moment of truth. Success.
Oh yeah.
Finally, after almost a year of work, the Real Boy. Real Virtual Boy hardware, real Virtual Boy games, all in a handheld, pocketable form factor. It has all the features you could ask for in a modern portable. USB-C charging, headphone jack, IPS screen, HDMI video output, external controller support, it has it all. I even included the Virtual Boy link cable port. just in case I ever meet someone else with a Virtual Boy. The multi-material 3D printed case and glowing resin cast buttons pay homage to the original Virtual Boy design. Button combinations allow me to adjust screen controls, change the color palette, and even enable an RGB mode. This project pushed me to the limits on all fronts, but I couldn't be more proud of the results. As part of the sponsorship for this video, I was able to convince PCBWay to fund a small giveaway to showcase how versatile their custom PCBs are. This double-sided GameCube Joy-Con keychain is a printed circuit.
Wow.
But by then, Shiratori was long gone.
Guys, how are you doing at this time in the stream?
Hello, I'm Shank. I built a G-Boy.
Sure, we'll
And you can too. If you've seen any of my videos before, you know I love Wii Portables. All the Wii Portables I make and showcase on my channel use real, cut up, and rewired Wii hardware inside. These are not emulators. There are real Wii motherboards inside these portables. This gives them flawless compatibility with no glitches or slowdowns. From a hardware standpoint, a Wii is just a beefed up GameCube, allowing it to play all GameCube and Wii games perfectly. Wii Portables also run WiiWare and Virtual Console games, as well as the Wii's massive homebrew library and selection of homebrew emulators. They're all loaded through custom front-end software, allowing you to navigate menus and boot games without the use of a Wii remote. Power on to gameplay is a matter of seconds, and game compatibility is unrivaled. Wii Portables are everything Raspberry Pi portables wish they could be. The G-Boy takes real Wii hardware and packs it into a classic, pocketable form factor. The built-in controller uses contemporary controller parts, as well as custom-engineered controls like dual-action shoulder buttons for analog shoulder button functionality. The G-Boy also packs in a ton of modern tech and electronics. It's powered by two 18650 lithium cells and the efficient RVL power management system, giving it between 2 and 3 hours of battery life with an RGB LED as a battery life indicator. The G-Boy charges over USB Type-C and even supports power delivery for high-speed charging. Disk drives, like the ones the Wii normally uses to load games, are slow, noisy, and suck a lot of power. Instead, games are loaded off an internal USB drive, which can be accessed from your computer through a Type-C charging port at the top. Games load much faster through USB than disk drives, and you can fit a lot of games on a single USB drive. This is without a doubt the most elaborate and streamlined portableized console ever made. I assembled this Purple Boy myself. However, the G-Boy and its accompanying kit was actually created by someone much more experienced and skilled than I am. He has a YouTube channel of his own, but he's been a little busy. More on that later. Since my next project is a ways out, I thought it would be cool to showcase one of the coolest and most comprehensive projects to ever come out of the portableizing community. The first ever complete kit you can buy to build your own portable.
Yo, I gotta get this.
To understand how big of a deal this kit is, it's important to understand the long history behind it. Members of the community have been building portable Wiis for years, each with their own design and flair. Each portable was designed and built from the ground up by the individual modders based on their skill set and the tools at their disposal. But, due to the one-off nature of portables, even recreating a portable that was already designed has always been a challenge in itself. For example, the Peewee Pocket files are all open source, but unless you have access to a 50-watt laser cutter with a ventilation system, you're completely out of luck. The topic of kits has been discussed in the community for years, but always dismissed. The amount of work and complexity to make an effective kit is next to impossible. That is, unless you're G-Man.
Hi, I'm G-Man and I'm the designer of the G-Boy.
This is G-Man, the mastermind behind the G-Boy and a living legend in the portableizing scene. G-Man has been in the community for over a decade and has made and sold more portables than any non-G-Man on planet Earth. GameCube, Wii, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, he's done it all, and he's uploaded dozens of these portables to his YouTube channel. As he's made all these countless portables over the years, he has continuously tweaked and perfected his craft. He's a portableizing master and has streamlined the building process down to a science. But of all of his projects, none encompass this ideology better than the G-Boy, whose roots date back almost 7 years.
The original DMG Cube was my first GameCube portable that I made in 2013.
This is an original Game Boy case that I modified to hold a GameCube.
I trimmed down the GameCube motherboard as far as we possibly could, and I still didn't have room for batteries. But it served its purpose. I was officially hooked on building portables. Later on, during the BitBuild Summer 2016 portabilizing competition, I built the WeeBoy Rev 1.
I call this one the WeeBoy because it's built from an original DMG Game Boy case.
By this time, the community moved on to reportabilizing, which allowed me to trim the motherboard small enough to fit batteries this time. The WeeBoy Rev 2 was made shortly after the Rev 1.
This one is the WeeBoy Rev 2.
I took what I learned from building the Rev 1, improved the heatsink, and was able to fit twice the amount of battery cells. I also switched to using DS Lite buttons, which allowed me to have extra room inside. Taking what I learned again, I completely redesigned it for the G-Boy Rev 3. I modeled the case on the computer to be 3D printed so I could replace glue with screw mounts. I also designed several custom PCBs for cleaner assembly and cool features like USB-C charging with internal storage.
Through all these years and iterations, G-Man has polished his design and assembly process. His custom components made assembly so smooth that adaptation to a kit became more than feasible. He sold early kits to experienced members of the community, myself included, to beta test and gather feedback. With the hardware for the kit laid out, he teamed up with a BitBelt store to distribute the kits to anyone looking to make their own G-Boy. It's currently available for purchase on the BitBelt store. For those unfamiliar, the BitBelt store is a community-run online shop for modders and portabilizers. As for disclosure, I was not paid or asked by G-Man or the BitBelt store to make this video. I offered to make this for them because I consider G-Man a close friend and I believe in him and his project. As of the time of posting this video, I am a moderator on the BitBelt forums, but I am not part of the storefront. I purchased and built the G-Boy featured in this video many months before coming up with the idea to make this video. The other G-Boys in the package kit itself were lent to me by the BitBelt store to help me record more diverse and interesting footage. But they did provide me with an affiliate link, which I'll have in the description. So let's talk about the kit itself. The kit includes pretty much everything you need to turn your Wii into a G-Boy. The 3D printed shell comes with all the screws, battery contacts, and 3D printed parts needed for assembly. Video is displayed on a crisp 3.5-inch screen, and the included audio amp drives both the 700mW speakers and the 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom. The heatsink, blower fan, and copper cooling plate quietly dissipate the 6 watts of heat generated by the Wii through a carefully designed internal duct system. But what really makes this kit amazing are all the custom circuit boards. These included circuit boards were specifically designed and make some of the most complex tasks of building a portable trivial and straightforward. The first custom PCB houses a GC Plus 2.0. This open source project by the legendary Aurelio himself puts all the functionality of a GameCube controller onto a tiny chip and adds so many more features on top of it. It's much easier, less expensive, and more versatile than harvesting parts from a real GameCube controller. Just wire up the sticks and the buttons and you're good to go. It has a configuration app so you can use and calibrate any control stick with full range, and easily customize analog shoulder button behavior. The GC Plus 2.0s sold in the BitBelt store are universal with convenient labeled solder points, but the one in the kit is on a different custom PCB made specifically for the G-Boy. This custom board integrates many of the button contacts and uses connectors for the joysticks, drastically reducing the amount of hand wiring needed. On most portables, one of the most tedious and complex parts of making the portable is wiring up voltage regulators and battery protection by hand. Using the hand-wired regulators of yesteryear, you needed to reference a chart to select and install the right feedback resistor to properly set the voltage. Then you would need to add input and output caps and wire power and ground to every reg. Then for batteries, you would need a lithium protection circuitry, and to have an external lithium charger, then you'd need to create and calibrate a low battery indicator, then wire up a charge and play circuit, but not anymore. G-Man's power management system board, included in the kit, handles all the battery and power management. Just wire the batteries to your board, and your board to the trimmed Wii motherboard, and the circuitry and its custom firmware handle the rest. It also has a bunch of neat features, like shipping mode and an RGB status LED. It even includes a thermal sensor to automatically shut down the console in case it overheats, something I wish I had on another one of my portables. BitBelt's USB-C board, which is also included in this kit, serves two primary functions. The first function is allowing the G-Boy to charge through USB Type-C, the same charging port used on most Android phones and laptops. It can charge through any standard 5V USB source, but it also supports USB power delivery quick charging. The board's other function is to access the internal USB flash drive through the USB-C port. Just plug it into your computer and it shows up and works just like any USB stick or external hard drive, allowing you to easily manage the files without taking anything out of the G-Boy. Both this board and the Power Management System board are included in the kit, but they're also available for purchase individually on the BitBelt store. The last custom board, the audio amp, is much more than just a simple audio amp. Rather than grabbing analog audio off the Wii motherboard, the special audio amp grabs the raw digital audio from the GPU before the audio-video encoder converts it to amplified analog audio. This gives a much clearer audio signal with far less interference or distortion than an analog amp. The amp uses special software on the Wii to display volume information on screen and allows you to control the volume level with the face buttons. This slick little stereo amp also has a headphone jack with automatic switching. It's all integrated into a single assembly with spring contacts for the speakers. The BitBelt store also sells a similar general-purpose version of this amp called the U-Amp. It's designed to be universal, supporting digital audio for the Wii, PS2, and Dreamcast, and analog audio for everything else. This kit is a collection of custom parts used to turn a pre-existing Wii home console into a fully featured portable. I feel it's also important to mention what is not included in the kit. The G-Boy kit does not include a Nintendo Wii or any other official Nintendo hardware. It does not include any Nintendo games, software, or intellectual property. It does not include lithium batteries. Selling and shipping lithium batteries are another logistical hurdle. 18650 batteries are inexpensive and easy to acquire, so it makes sense for them not to be included. Just be careful to get them from a trusted source, as fake 18650 cells are common and can be dangerous. It does not include DS Lite buttons. You can find them in a huge variety of colors all over eBay for less than $5, so you can use whatever color you want without paying twice for them. It does not include tools, wire, solder, or other basic electronics necessities. A good temperature-controlled iron is an absolute necessity. The Fire Stick in your uncle's garage is not going to cut it. I'll leave a link to some recommended tools in the description. While the kit does include a compatible USB to micro SD adapter, it does not include a micro SD card. Compatibility varies from card to card, so I'll have a link to the one I recommend in the description below. This kit is by far the easiest way to get into building a portable, but that does not mean it is easy. It will require quite a bit of patience, troubleshooting, and very tiny soldering. It's a challenging build, especially for beginners, but with enough dedication, even a beginner can build their own G-Boy. G-Man and Noah from the BitBelt store have poured countless hours into creating a comprehensive step-by-step G-Boy guide. The guide uses information gathered from dozens of G-Boy builds from G-Man, Noah, and many beta testers. The G-Boy guide is built on the guides and resources curated by the Portabilizing community on the BitBelt forums. The guides are by far the best way to learn, but sometimes they don't have the exact thing you're looking for. That's why BitBelt has set up a G-Boy section on the forums, as well as an exclusive G-Boy Discord server. The Portabilizing community is an amazing and welcoming community. The only thing modders like us love more than modding is seeing new people getting into modding themselves. If you show you are putting in the effort to learn on your own before asking for help, the community will bend over backwards to help you when you get stuck. I've built a few portables since getting into the hobby, and the G-Boy is one of my favorites. With all the details and quality of life features G-Man baked into it, it's the portable I normally reach for whenever I'm on the go with time to kill. It's compact, it's comfy, it's sleek, and it was the easiest build on this channel to date. I get asked a lot how I got into modding. The truth is, I learned everything I know through the huge adventure that was making my first Wii portable. I knew next to nothing, and there was almost no documentation when I started, so it was several years before I had my first working portable. But now that the foundation is laid and the forums are full of documentation, guides, and work logs, things are different. I've seen electrical noobs come to the forums and go on to be electrical engineering students. I've seen complete portables from people who, just a few weeks earlier, had never held a soldering iron. If you want to learn electronics, the best project to start with is one that you're interested in. And if the idea of a portable...
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Well, guys, it's getting pretty late out. I'm probably gonna get going, but thank you for all joining me, and I really do hope you have a good rest of your day.